So you've heard about astrocartography. You've heard how you have a unique map of the world that has all of these beautiful colored lines crisscrossing across the globe that you can use to decide where to travel, where to live, and to activate different areas of your life. Whether it's love, relationships, spiritual growth and healing, or career success and visibility. Your astrocartography map is kind of like your treasure map of the world that can show you these different places as well as the timing, which I talk about in other videos as well as in my astrocartography courses. But you can see where certain places have these stories and activations for you based on what you're looking for. It's kind of like seeing the world through different lenses of perception or different lenses of consciousness. That's what astrocartography is. You're exploring different aspects of self, of consciousness. But here's the thing you're probably getting wrong about astrocartography, and it's a big one. It's really, really important. And I'm going to be talking about that in today's video. Before we get started, hello, I'm Helena, and I am a full-time astrocartographer traveling the world, living nomadically as I go from astrocartography line to astrocartography line. I am living this out in real time as I explore all of my latitude lines, my longitudinal astrocartography lines, and experiencing these different lenses of reality as I travel nomadically. If you're new around here, be sure to get my free astrocartography cheat sheet, which you can get down below in the description in that little link. I've got a free cheat sheet and a free astrocartography guide so you don't make all the mistakes that a lot of astrocartographers and astrologers make when they're sharing content online. These videos, my playlists, my educational posts on my blog, my courses, and my private readings, I have so many different offerings, a variety of different offerings depending on what you're looking for. Whether you want to learn this for yourself and do this for fun, or you want to get some free content on my blog, or you just want to do this full time like I do and become a certified relocation astrologer with me and get on my reader directory so that you can start booking clients as well. I have so many different offerings depending on what you're looking for. So be sure to check out all of my resources and my website down below in the description. I'll include links there so you can find all those places. So let's get into today's topic of the most important, the biggest mistake that people make when they're talking about astrocartography. And I didn't know this when I first learned about astrocartography either, because when I first learned about astrocartography, I heard about it from some influencer on Instagram back in 2018. And I ended up taking her course, and I spent all this money on this course, and she didn't talk at all about some of the most critical, essential pieces of relocation astrology. And I'm on a mission to debunk all of the simplification of astrocartography, but also just so you have more understanding of how this works. I'm on a mission to share this with as many people as possible. Now, so here is the biggest mistake, the biggest thing that I see people doing incorrectly when they're talking about astrocartography, or people who just don't know about astrocartography and they think they know what it means, but they don't. And it is this: relocation charts. Relocation charts. What is a relocation chart? It is the foundation of relocation astrology and your map. Your map that you see on free websites like AstroSeek or astro.com, they were created in the 70s by Jim Lewis, who created astrocartography maps. But those maps that you see online, they were created from something called relocated charts. Relocated charts have been used since way before maps were even invented or created in the 70s by Jim Lewis, the founder of astrocartography mapping. But way before there were ever maps on the scene and we had the technology to create computerized maps online, we had to pull up relocated charts to understand the stories of places in the world. And that's where those lines that you see on your map are coming from. The relocated chart is the foundation of this work because those lines that you're seeing are a reflection of what the chart is showing you. Those lines that you see on your map are coming from the chart. And how do you get this relocated chart to begin with? How do you even get this? Well, you take your natal chart and you put in a new location for the birthplace. So instead of saying that you were born in Nashville, Tennessee, you would change the location to wherever you're looking at. So if you want to understand the story of London in the United Kingdom, you would need to change your birthplace to the London. And then you would need to also adjust to the time zone too, because the times will change as well. Sometimes if you're converting somewhere like Europe to Australia, even the date will change. Like maybe you'll be the next morning, you'll be a day ahead. So your birth date will change as well. But basically what this is showing you is it's showing you if you were born at the exact same moment, the first breath that you took in life, at that same moment that you were born in this life, you have stories in different parts of the world. And at that moment, the sun was setting here, the moon was in the culminating spot over here in this part of the world. So what it's doing is it's showing you in the relocated chart where all this is happening in the different areas of your life. So the relocated chart is so important because that map was created from when those planets were on angles in the world at the moment that you took that first breath in life. So what you want to do to find this relocated chart for these different parts of the world that you're considering is you want to take your natal chart and then you want to create a subsidiary chart for that natal chart, and it's called a relocated chart. A relocated chart is going to show you how all of the planets shift houses. So the areas of life are going to get different activity, different storylines are going to happen depending on where you're going in the world, as well as the angles are going to shift. Those are the two things that shift. Your planets, your sun in Gemini will not move to a sun in Libra. That's not possible because again, it's the same moment that you were born. The sun will always be in Gemini, making that aspect to Mars or whatever you have aspecting those planets that you have natally. The planets in your chart do not change at all. What does change is when they move to angles, the 4 angles in astrology. I teach all about the angles and all these different things in my courses, my online courses, and all the content I have online, those 4 angles. But also, what also shifts is the houses. Those planets move to different houses and they create new aspects to new angles. For instance, in San Diego, you might have the sun trining the ascendant. New York, you might have Saturn trine the ascendant, right? So there's different aspects being made to the angles as well. It's like a minor detail added in addition. So all of this to say, if you want to understand your money story, the relationships in your life, how are friendships and community in this location for me? What about career and visibility, how I'm seen? How's my reputation in this part of the world? What about my spiritual growth and healing? What about my health and wellness? These are all questions you might ask yourself when you're looking at a new place. You're considering a move, you're considering going somewhere new, and you're like, I want to know more about these different areas of life. So you would pull up the relocated chart for that. You'd pull up the relocated chart to understand the houses in the different areas of life and what activity are happening in those areas of life. Now you also want to still use maps, especially parents, which show the latitudes that are happening through areas and also showing you, where those planets were on angles in the chart. So we're looking at both things, map and relocated chart. But one of the biggest mistakes that I personally made when I first learned about astrocartography, and the mistakes that I see a lot of astrologers making, is they don't consider the relocated chart. They don't consider seeing, what areas of life are these planets moving into? Is it moving into the house of money, or is it moving into the house of writing? Is it moving into the house of children and fertility and romance? Or is it moving into the house of work, productivity, and injuries or accidents? These are really important things to take into consideration. And this is where it's really important to know what your priorities are in life. I think a lot of people, when they get into astrocartography, they just have the question of, where is it best for me? Where is the one place in the world where everything's going to be amazing? I'm going to have everything I've ever wanted. All areas of my life are going to be thriving. And I hate to break it to you, but that's just not possible. And the reason why that's not possible is because your chart is not going to be fully balanced. No one's chart is perfect. No one's chart, it's just not possible. Like astrologically speaking, it's not possible for all the planets to be evenly balanced and have good things in all the areas of life. Saturn has to go somewhere in the chart. Mars has to go somewhere in the chart. It has to be somewhere. It's not like we can just poof, eliminate Mars and Saturn, right? And so that's why the relocated chart is so important. What's more important to you? What are your values? What are your priorities? What is most essential to you in your life right now or during this season? And where do you want to live to activate those themes? This is where the relocated chart comes so in handy, because you can see the overall stories and activations based on where those planets are moving and the new aspects that are being made to the angles. So this is the biggest mistake that people make when thinking about astrocartography, when looking up their maps, is they just think, I'm going to go to a Mercury line, I'm going to go to a Saturn line, without considering that relocated chart. It's so important. So again, pull up that subsidiary chart of a relocated chart. You're gonna notice the time is gonna change. You're gonna notice that the houses are gonna change. You're gonna notice that the location will change in the chart. This is something I hear so often from people. People will come back and be like, why did the time change? Or, why is my chart looking different? It's because it's a relocated chart, and that's the foundation of astrocartography. Astrocartography mapping just came recently in the 1970s. If we didn't have relocated charts, we wouldn't have maps. If there were no relocated charts, we would never have astrocartography. You can't separate the two. That's why pulling up your relocated chart is so imperative, because it's the foundational roots of what a map shows. So be sure to check out your relocated chart and tell me down below, what have you noticed that's changed for you in your life when you've moved locations? Maybe Saturn moved from the first house to the second house. Or maybe you had Mars move from the 6th to the 7th. How did that change in your life? And what kind of stories or experiences do you have that you think would be really helpful or interesting to share? I know our community loves learning from your stories, your anecdotes, and what you've experienced. I find personally that's the best way to learn astrology, to do practice readings, to read for people, and also just to understand and ask questions, to hear the stories of other people and what they're experiencing when they go to these different parts of the world. How did your money story shift? How did your marriage relationship shift? How did your friends and your connection to your hopes, your dreams, your studies, your learning, your spirituality, what activated for you when you moved to these places, and how did the relocated chart reflect that? I'd love to hear from you down below in the comments. Let me know, and be sure to hit that like button. That really helps support my channel and the continuation of this channel. And don't forget to get my astrocartography cheat sheet down below, because when you do, you get subscribed to all of my incredible newsletters and emails with all my tips, resources, advice, all the things that I want to share with you for free information, free education. I give generously and freely from my heart via email. So be sure to join that email list down below by getting my free astrocartography guide, so you don't miss any amazing content that will really help you on your journey of relocation and travel. All that said, I hope you have a magical day and happy astro travels. Bye!